Happy New Year. This is Jeff Schwartz and this is our January 2025 shop update video. Let's see what we got going on this month. Well, you haven't seen this car in quite a while. This is a 5th gen Camaro, as you can see, and we started this project some time ago, and the owner bought this car brand new with a 6-cylinder. We swapped in an LT5 engine, which had never been installed in this generation Camaro, and that was in there and running quite some time ago, and we dyno tuned it, and after the dyno tune, the air conditioning didn't function any longer, and there was an aftermarket stereo in it when it came into us, and the aftermarket stereo, there was a screen piece, which was like an aftermarket piece that went into the car that had all the air conditioning controls in it, and this part had apparently malfunctioned, so it took a while for us to diagnose it and get the part. So now we have a replacement part in there, the air conditioning is functioning properly, and it's ready to go back to the customer, and I believe this is going to Atlanta, Georgia. As I mentioned a while back, this LT4 powered Mercedes 450 SLC, the customer came in and drove it around southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, and in doing so, he decided he would like the car to be a little bit quieter. And we had 4 mufflers underneath the car. There is a little bit of limited space under here with the IRS and so forth, but we were able to reconfigure the exhaust a little bit and add a couple of more mufflers to it. So I can't wait to drive this again, and it should be a little bit quieter for him now. So we are still waiting for the gas tank that was getting redone that I mentioned last month. So as soon as that gas tank arrives, we'll get it back in here, and then it should be pretty close to ready to go. And this 1970 Elephant powered Dodge Charger, we are programming the functions of the dash, mainly the gauge functions right now. And once we're done with that, we should be really close to getting the final interior done on it, and then off to the customer in Florida. And the glass is now in this 66 Chevelle. This is the LS7 powered unit that we have here, and we'll continue on getting this thing wrapped up as well. And the forged line wheels came in for this Mustang convertible. You can see them here on the back. They have a graphite, dark gray powder coating on the centers with a polished lip. We'll continue on this one throughout the next month, and we're getting closer to the finish line. We did get this twin-turboed Galaxie fired up this month, and we need to do a little bit of tuning on it, but it should be running really nice by next month. We were able to take this 1,000 horsepower Chevy II Nova down the road last week. We had one nice day before the snow came. Hopefully the weather clear up and the salt will get off the roads and we can drive it again real soon. You remember the red primered 55 Chevy 2-door hardtop that came in last month? Well, this isn't that car. But upon further review of that car, it was really in rough shape. There was Bondo over the entire car with rust underneath the Bondo, and we weren't going to know what we had until we got it media blasted, and it was probably going to be a disaster. Anyway, the customer had purchased that car and was supplied photographs that did not match that car. So he's working out something with the seller of that car, and we were able to locate this car in Pueblo, Colorado, and it's essentially a clean shell that an elderly gentleman had owned for 20 years and wasn't going to get around to building it. So here we are, we have a nice clean shell. This is an impeccable condition car. Most of it is all original sheet metal. There's been a couple replacement parts. It's really, really nice. So we can't wait to get started. We've already actually started, but we can't wait to see this one with the 632 1,000 horsepower big block powertrain in it, along with that Bowler T56 Magnum. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've pretty much wrapped up the airflow mods to the front of this wide body Chevy Monza, along with fabrication of this steel front bumper. And we're going to be moving on to doing some hood vents. Those will get screened similar to what you see down below here. And right now we're working on doing the similar treatment to the bumper on the fiberglass rear bumper. We'll have more progress next month. And this 72 Cutlass with the Hellcat engine is continuing being assembled. Right now I can see that we've got our exhaust system in there and the stainless steel fuel tank. We still got to put the filler neck on it, and the coilover shocks got to get bolted in there as well. So we'll have a lot more progress on this one next month. Stay tuned. I found out last week that the customer wanted flush mount glass installed in this first gen Camaro. There's no problem doing that. However, most of the time when you fit that type of glass, there's some metal work required, especially if you got aftermarket quarter panels, etc., to get the gap around the flush mounted glass even. You definitely need to have a little bit of a gap, because if anything moves and that glass touches the metal, it'll actually crack. So we had to carefully massage the openings of the windows and weld some metal on there and grind it and fit it, and it's pretty much ready to go now. This is my Triumph TR7 project that I showed you last month. The fabricated fan shroud that I did last month is now installed, along with the electric fan and the lower hose. The upper hose, I ran into a little bit of a problem, so I got to massage the radiator shroud to fit the hose on the upper hose bung yet. The ECU is mounted, all the spark plug wires are on except two. I've got all the fuel system plumbed now. I was waiting for two fittings, and I have two small pieces of fuel line to fab in the rear, and then the fuel line is hooked up. I've got the Optima battery in there. I'm using a Series 51, which is OEM for like a Honda Civic. It fits perfectly on the OEM Triumph battery tray. A lot of people have commented, why don't you put the battery in the trunk? And I thought about that. However, there's a battery tray in here to mount the battery that is welded into the car. It's got these stamped massive gussets underneath it that are welded into the inner fender well, and I don't know how I would possibly get it out of there with, you know, cutting tools, you know, Sawzall and etc., and make it look neat and clean. It's just the space is too constrained. If I had done it with the engine out, I maybe could have done it, but now that the engine's in there, I really don't want to pull the engine back out and try cutting that bracket out of there. This Optima battery is only about 23 pounds, I think it is, and moving it to the back is going to have very little effect on the overall percentage of front to rear balance. And I get that it's better to mount the battery in the trunk. We do it on all of our builds, but on this one here, I don't really want to go through the trouble of running battery cables from the back all the way to the front. There's not really a lot of room under the car to do that, and I don't really, you know, there's a lot of risks involved that I don't really want to do on this particular car. It's a regular street car. I've got plenty other more serious cars for the track. I don't really care if there's 20 pounds extra under the hood, quite honestly. So anyway, that's why I'm not putting it in the trunk. Stay tuned for more next month. So I showed you the 70 Roadrunner last month where the factory air cleaner base wasn't fitting the carburetors and so forth. So this is the hood for that. It's a six-pack style hood with the forward-facing snorkel type scoop. So what we did is we fabricated this metal piece here, and this has been bonded into this fiberglass hood to make it a functional hood. When you close this hood down on the air cleaner base, it'll seal against it. So this has been all fabricated from metal, this piece here, and that's been bonded in and finished here. And we are in the process of doing the air cleaner base, and all of that stuff will mold together, and we'll be able to show you that next month. Well, we've finished mini tubbing this 65 Barracuda, and the Hellcat red-eye engine is in it now. We're also installing some of the components that came with it in the Cleveland parts conglomeration of stuff that mostly we won't be able to use. Anyway, stay tuned for more on this next month. Yes, the square body is on the lift for 3D scanning. We are in the process of engineering the G-Machine chassis for this one, and we'll also be doing the off-road chassis. Incidentally, the chassis I showed you last month for off-road, that's actually going to be used more for a cruiser around on the streets. The actual off-road chassis will have a pair of shocks at each corner. If you're interested in an off-road chassis for either a Ford or a Chevy square body, we have you covered, and you can order them right now. And like I mentioned, they will have 2 shocks at each corner. The G-Machine chassis will be similar to our C10 chassis, lowered, and will have the handling of a sports car. We have 3D scanned this 56 Cadillac, and it is ginormous. We're deep into the design of the chassis now, and hopefully we'll have parts cut for that chassis in the next video. That's all we have for this month. Again, Happy New Year, and stay tuned for next month's video.